Beyond the gates, spoilers whisper like a warning in the air as the humid dusk settles over the sprawling Hamilton estate, where secrets are as fertile as the ivy crawling up the manicured walls. Hayley Lawson Hamilton stands at the edge of her bed, fingertips brushing the smooth surface of the wooden frame, as though anchoring herself to reality. The faint glow of her phone screen bathes her face in a ghostly light. It's the message from the clinic, confirming what she already suspects. Her home test, the one she took with trembling anticipation, was wrong. There is no life growing inside her. No heartbeat to echo the hollow pounding in her chest. She breathes sharply, hands gripping the blanket, and the carefully constructed world she's built begins to tremble around her. For weeks, she nurtured a dream, telling herself that this news would bridge the growing chasm between her and Bill Hamilton. A child, she believed, would be the perfect balm for their strained marriage, proof of her worth, proof of their commitment. But the home kit, so convincingly positive, had lulled her into reckless hope. Now, confronted with the sterile certainty of hospital results, she feels stripped bare, her hopes shredded, exposed in the harsh, fluorescent light of the lab. Each beep of the machine seems a drumbeat of betrayal by her own body, betrayal by the test that misled her, betrayal by the simple biology she thought she understood. She remembers the moment she lied to Bill, the way her voice hovered between hope and deception. "I'm pregnant," she'd whispered, and watched his face crumble, tears mingling with disbelief. He had held her, clung to her, as if she were a lifeline. In that embrace, she felt invincible, like the world could be rewritten, their fractured lives mended by the promise of new life. But the promise was an illusion. She had needed to believe so desperately that truth gave way to fabrication, and now the specter of her lie looms over her, threatening to unravel everything. Across town, Dani Dupree paces her living room in the early morning light, the soft padding of her slippers almost inaudible against the hardwood floors. In her hand, she grips a file: ultrasound images, blood work printouts, statements from a medical technician who found the home kit's results incongruent with the clinic's protocols. She had to see it for herself. She'd never been one to trust second-hand reports. Dani's former husband, Bill, deserves the truth, she thinks, her jaw set in determination. She glances at the photographs of her twin daughters grinning up at her from the mantelpiece, their bright eyes innocent and unknowing of the storm brewing beyond their nursery doors. Suspicion first takes root when Dani notices subtle changes in Hayley's behavior, the sudden insistence on quiet mornings, the guarded tone in her voice when Bill calls, the furtive glances at her phone. It gnaws at Dani, an itch she can't ignore. A mother knows when something isn't right. And when Bill mentions the pregnancy, Dani's instincts flare. She volunteers to drive Hayley to the clinic, feigning concern, but secretly intends to pry. The clinic staff, accustomed to the Hamilton name, treat her with deference, never suspecting her motives are anything but compassionate. Yet she collects every shred of evidence: the discrepancy between the at-home test brand and the clinic's approved methods, the unexpected stanchions in Hayley's blood work, the hurried notation in the technician's log. Truth is a fragile thing. She will gather it piece by piece until the whole lies exposed like a broken mirror. Meanwhile, Hayley stands at the reception desk of the hospital's obstetrics wing, heart hammering in her ears. The receptionist, polite, kind, unfamiliar, slides the clinical report across the counter. "I'm sorry," she says. "I'm sympathetic. All tests indicate no pregnancy." The words settle like stones in Hayley's stomach. She wants to argue, to demand a retest, to scream that something must be wrong. But her voice catches, choked by uncertainty. She nods, taking the paper as though it were poison, and retreats to the parking garage, where her car sits bathed in yellow sodium lights. She feels smaller than the space she occupies. The world has shrunk to that crumpled sheet of paper. Every breath tastes metallic, every thought tinged with shame. In the solitude of her sedan, she dials Bill's number, each ring echoing her dread. He answers with warmth, unaware, and she forces herself to speak. "Bill," she whispers, "it's not real. I'm not pregnant." Silence follows, thicker than any barrier she's known. She imagines his face contorting shock, betrayal, confusion. She wants to solace him, to explain that she never meant for the lie to become a lie, that something about her lost her mind. But words fail. The line goes dead, and she clutches the steering wheel until her knuckles whiten. The lie has mutated into a lie of omission, a void where truth should be. Back at the Dupree home, Dani's phone buzzes with a text from her daughter. "Mom, can I have oatmeal?" A simple request, but today it feels monumental. She places the file on the dining table, assembling herself. She will tell Bill. She will speak at dinner when the girls are finished with homework and the kitchen lights are warm and steady. But something stops her, something colder than fear. A recent conversation, a tone in Hayley's voice, a veiled threat if her secret came to light. Dani recalls it, a warning wrapped in sweetness, a promise of unspoken consequences. For a moment, doubt flickers. Could Hayley be capable of real harm? The thought is ludicrous, but fear is a potent poison. She buries it deep, reminding herself that mothers protect their children at all costs. If Hayley threatens her, she will fight back. Night descends like a velvety curtain as Bill returns home, briefcase in hand, exhaustion lining his features. He pauses at the threshold, inhaling the warm scent of home-roasted garlic, vanilla candles, the muted laughter of his twin girls watching cartoons. In the glow of the living room, he sees Hayley perched on the edge of the sofa, eyes red-rimmed, shoulders hunched. He sets his briefcase aside, concern etching his brow. "Hayley," he asks gently, crossing the room. She stands, hands trembling, and offers him the hospital report. He unfolds it, scanning the words, confusion giving way to dawning realization. "What happened?" he breathes. She shakes her head, the lie evaporating in that moment. I'm not pregnant." His chair scrapes the floor as he sits heavily, looking at her intently. The vulnerability in her eyes pierces him, sees fear, shame, regret. He reaches for her hand, but she pulls away, retreating behind a wall she thought impenetrable. "You lied to me," he says quietly, pain lacing his voice. "Why?" She opens her mouth, but words tangle in her throat. She had told herself it was for love, for their family, but the truth sounds hollow even to her own ears. She cannot find the courage to explain, cannot admit that her desperation eclipsed her integrity. Outside, rain begins to fall, tapping against the windows in a mournful rhythm. Inside, the hush deepens, heavy with unspoken hurts. Bill stands, thrusting the report into her chest. "I need time," he says. She watches him retreat to the study, the door clicking shut behind him, leaving her stranded in the hollow of their living room. The television murmurs, incongruous in its brightness, as if the world beyond their pain continues unabated. She sinks onto the sofa, tears slipping free, and curls into herself, wishing with all her heart to reverse time, to unmake the choices that have led her here. Miles away, Dani grips the edge of her steering wheel, parked across the street from the Hamilton estate. She watches through rain-smeared glass as Bill and Hayley's silhouettes move behind curtained windows. A knot twists in her stomach. She knows the truth could destroy them both, but how can she live with a lie that festers and spreads? She texts Bill a single line, "We need to talk." Then she sits in the darkness, heart pounding, wrestling with the weight of what comes next. The line between justice and vengeance feels perilously thin. Inside the house, Hayley moves through the night in a daze, her thoughts fractured. She recalls her mother's voice, soft, loving, urging honesty, integrity. She remembers childhood tears, confessions made in secret, the relief that followed truth. But she also remembers nights spent crying into her pillow, convinced she wasn't enough, that she would lose Bill's love if she couldn't give him what every other wife could, a child. In that fear, she had crafted her lie, dressing it in hope. Now hope has abandoned her, leaving only this raw, exposed regret. Bill stands at the window of his study, gazing out at the storm-swollen sky. The rain blurs the world beyond, making every light a halo, every shadow an omen. He rubs his temples, mind racing through memories. The day Hayley moved in, bright-eyed and full of promise. Their wedding, tears of joy mingled with laughter. The quiet nights when they dreamed of children, of a future that now feels painfully out of reach. He wonders how to reconcile the woman he loves with the deception she has wrought. Trust, once fractured, is a labyrinth one he must navigate alone. The house settles around them, the ticking clock in the hallway louder than any heartbeat. In the kitchen, forgotten dishes congeal in the sink, evidence of a family meal never eaten, conversation left unfinished. Somewhere in the maze of hallways, the twins sleep, blissfully unaware that their world braces against the tremors of adult decisions. In their small beds, they dream of rainbows and laughter, their innocence a stark contrast to the tempest gathering beyond their bedroom doors. Hayley moves to the sliding glass door, pressing her palm against the cool surface. She looks out at the rain-drenched lawn, at the familiar oak tree under which she and Bill carved their initials months ago. The carved heart is blurred now, the wood swollen with moisture, as if nature itself seeks to erase their promise. She places a hand over her own heart, feeling the hollow where the lie resides. She resolves silently that she will face the consequences whatever they may be. But the question that haunts her is whether there will be anything left to face, or if the ruin of her trust with Bill will leave only rubble. Dani's car lights cut through the darkness, pulling into the Hamilton driveway. She hesitates, hand on the door handle, steeling herself for the confrontation she has long rehearsed. She must guard her daughters, protect them from the fallout, but she cannot stay silent any longer. The lie that blossomed in secrecy threatens to poison the roots of two families. She steps out into the rain, umbrella unfurled, and crosses the lawn, each footfall a promise she cannot break, to bring truth to light, no matter the cost. Inside, Hayley hears the soft click of the front door and the hush of footsteps. She turns, heart lurching. Dani stands at the threshold, water droplets sparkling on her hair, eyes steely beneath the brim of her coat. The file is tucked under her arm like armor. Hayley's breath catches. She knows what Dani carry proof of her deception, the key to Bill's heart and mind. Shame floods her, but beneath it, a dark ember of resolve glows. She steps forward, closing the distance between them, and stares into Dani's face. "What are you doing here?" Hayley's voice is a whisper, brittle as glass. Dani does not answer immediately. She holds the file out, palm up, as though offering a peace treaty laden with jagged edges. "I came to tell him," she says finally, voice calm but unyielding. "He deserves to know." Hayley's eyes flash with panic and anger, and in that moment, the two women stand on opposite sides of a chasm too wide to cross. Secrets have a way of uprooting everything in their path, and neither knows what will be left when the dust settles. The rain beats against the windows, an unrelenting drum, as if heralding a reckoning long withheld. In the charged silence that follows, every heart in the house holds its breath, waiting for the storm to break. The night's thunderous silence gives way to an electric tension as Bill steps forward, his usually steady gaze flicking between Hayley's pleading eyes and Dani's resolute stance. Rainwater drips from the brim of Dani's coat, beads of truth falling like dismantled raindrops, each carrying the weight of Hayley's deception. Bill's heart knots with betrayal and confusion. He had loved Hayley's lie as if it were sanctuary, and now that sanctuary lies in ruins. He looks at the file in Dani's handest results, technician's notes, eyewitness accounts, and feels as though every page slices at his soul. Yet he cannot will himself to tear them from her grasp. Instead, he turns to Hayley, voice low. Why? The question hangs between them, fragile and accusing. Hayley's lips tremble, her voice barely more than a breath. I thought it would save us. She steps forward, reaching for him, but Dani moves to block her path. Bill glances at Dani's daughters, who have crept into the foyer, wide-eyed and clutching stuffed animals. Their small faces reflect the flickering hallway light, innocence threatened by adult turmoil. He softens momentarily at their sight, the competing impulses of protector and betrayed husband wrestling within him. Hayley's tears glisten like shattered glass against her cheeks. Dani's resolve is a steely anchor amid the storm. Bill's chest heaves as he realizes that the collision of their worlds has shattered something irreparable. With a measured step, Dani signals her daughters away, guiding them back toward the safety of the living room. Their small hands slip from hers like fragile petals in the wind, and she watches them go before returning her attention to Bill and Hayley. This isn't about saving anyone, she says, voice steady. It's about the truth and your right to know it. Bill stares at her, the fight draining from his posture. He wants clarity, to understand the woman he married and the woman who betrayed him. Yet every revelation feels like another betrayal, a fracturing of the trust upon which he built his life. He exerts a trembling hand and retrieves the file, scanning the pages again, hoping for a different answer. Hayley steps closer, desperate. Bill, please. If you knew how alone I felt, I thought a baby would prove my worth, remind us why we chose each other. I didn't mean to hurt you. Her voice cracks, laden with remorse. Bill closes the file with a sharp snap, reverberating in the quiet hall. You didn't just hurt me, he whispers. You lied to me. His eyes glisten, not with anger but sorrow. He turns and retreats toward the study, leaving Hayley and Dani swallowed by the emptiness of the foyer. The house seems too large, every echo amplified, each silent corridor a reminder of the chasm now yawning between them. Inside the study, Bill paces. His fingertips trace the spines of books on the shelf, as if seeking answers in words penned by strangers. The rain hammers against the window pane, its rhythm mocking his turmoil. He recalls early days with Hayley by his side, vision of their future vivid with children's laughter. Now that dream lies bankrupt, replaced by questions. Can he ever trust her again? Was any moment real, or merely prologue to this deception? He feels unmoored, a ship torn from its anchor by a gale of lies. Somewhere, deep in his chest, the embers of love still glow, but they flicker against a wind of doubt. He closes his eyes and breathes, willing himself to think beyond the raw ache of betrayal. Down the hall, Hayley leans against the wall, tears staining her cheeks. Guilt and shame meld into a crushing weight that bends her shoulders. If only she could undo what she's done, tear her words from the past, erase the test, the confession, the ruin she's wrought. Dani approaches, arms folded but expression conflicted. She sees Hayley's shattered composure and feels a pang of pity, though she clamps it down. I never wanted this, she says softly, surprising herself. I only wanted honesty. For Bill's sake, for your own. Hayley shuts her eyes, lessons from her mother echoing. Truth atones, no matter how painful. But in the wake of her deception, truth feels like a blade. She steels herself and nods, as if ready to face the consequences she's earned. Morning light filters through heavy curtains the next day, painting the Hamilton home in muted gold. Bill sits at the breakfast table, reading the daily paper but seeing only the blurred words. The twins arrive, blinking sleep from their eyes, dressed in pastel pajamas. They pad toward him, innocent emissaries of a world untouched by adult betrayals. Daddy, are you okay? One of them asks, touching his hand. He forces a smile, the edges trembling as he pulls them onto his lap. Their small arms loop around his neck, He inhales their familiar scent soap and strawberry shampoo, and for a moment, the shadows recede. He realizes that while Hayley's deception wounded him, he cannot let Dani's daughters bear the brunt of the fallout. Family must endure, somehow. Across the hall, Hayley and Dani meet in the bright kitchen. The awkwardness between them is thick, but neither severes the fragile thread of civility. Dani has made coffee, its steam rising in tendrils like whispered hope. She offers Hayley a mug, and after a beat, Hayley accepts. They sip in silence, the hum of the refrigerator and ticking clock the only witness to their uneasy truce. "What now?" Hayley finally asks, voice small. Dani sets her mug down, eyes direct. "You need to face Bill with full honesty, no excuses," she replies. "And we need to protect the girls from this fallout. They deserve stability." Hayley nods, the truth clearer than any blood test. She can't manipulate the future with lies. She must rebuild or lose everything. That afternoon, Bill emerges from the study, face drawn but resolute. He finds Hayley in the garden, hands buried in the earth as she tends to a bed of roses. She pauses, brushes a strand of hair behind her ear, and stands. They face each other by the wrought iron bench where they once shared whispered dreams. Bill's gaze travels from her damp hair to the rose petals scattered at her feet, symbols of love blossomed and now fallen. Without a word, he takes her hand. Hayley's breath catches, expecting condemnation, but instead he breathes her name. "Tell me everything," he says. No judgment, only a plea for truth. Hayley inhales, the weight of her lie crashing down. She tells him of the home test, her desperation, the fantasies she wove. Each confession is a shard of glass she pulls from her heart. Bill listens, eyes moist, as though each revelation tears away a piece of the woman he thought he knew. When she finishes, the garden falls silent save for the distant hum of traffic and the rustle of leaves. He steps back, releasing her hand, and rubs his temples. "I don't know if I can forgive this," he admits. His voice is hoarse, betraying how raw his heart feels. "But I know I can't lose you completely." Hayley's shoulders slump in relief and grief combined. "I will earn your trust back," she vows. "I will do whatever it takes." He nods, uncertainty still shadowing his features, but he extends his hand again. She takes it, and in that gesture lies a fragile promessia, seed of possibility in the fertile ground of repentance. Meanwhile, Dani supervises her daughters in the living room, where they construct a makeshift tower of blocks. The twins chatter about school projects and fairy tales, unaware of the adult world's tremors. Dani watches them, her maternal instincts taut. She knows reconciliation between Bill and Hayley is precarious, but she also knows that vengeance serves no one. She resolves to guard her daughters, ensuring they feel safe and loved regardless of what happens outside these walls. Her phone buzzes, a message from Bill, "Thank you. No further detail." She tucks the phone away, focusing on the present miracle before her, laughter untainted by betrayal. As days unfurl into weeks, the household settles into a cautious rhythm. Bill keeps his distance, engaging in gentle conversations with Hayley but occasionally slipping into silence. She greets him each morning with a hopeful smile and finds small ways to rebuild trust, sharing coffee, discussing the girls' homework, offering to run errands so he can relax. He notices her since her written no more secrets, only transparency. He begins to allow glimpses of the wife he fell in love with, the woman who laughs easily, who cares deeply, who sees beauty in the mundane. Slowly, the frost in his heart thaws. Dani watches this fragile reconciliation from afar, her own wounds still healing. She maintains civility with Hayley, setting boundaries around the children and her own family's safety. But in unexpected moments over shared school pickups or parent-teacher conferences, they find common ground. Their conversations drift from tension to tentative friendship, talk of recipes, children's milestones, summer plans. The wound of Hayley's lie remains, but they begin to stitch a new fabric of cooperation for the sake of the twins. Neither forgets the past, but they learn that forgiveness can coexist with vigilance. Yet peace remains brittle. One evening, Bill receives a call from the clinic. A supplemental report has surfaced, suggesting that the original at-home test might have been tampered with. His heart sinks. Doubt creeps back like an unwelcome shadow. He shares this with Hayley, whose face drains of color. "I didn't do anything," she insists. But the question lingers: who would sabotage the test? It thrusts them back into uncertainty, raising specters of an unseen hand orchestrating their pain. Bill's protective instincts flare once more. Could someone be exploiting their vulnerability? Hayley's fear spikes. She thought the only lie was hers, but now suspicion turns her world inside out again. Determined to uncover the truth, Bill and Hayley work side by side, poring over lab records, speaking to technicians, reviewing security footage. They discover a late-night janitor with unsupervised access to testing rooms, a person of interest whose paycheck and alibi don't align. Soon, the investigation leads them to a figure from Bill's corporate pot and embittered former associates seeking revenge. As they piece together clues, the couple's partnership strengthens. They become allies against a common adversary. In the crucible of betrayal and investigation, their bond forges anew, tempered by adversity. Dani observes from the fringes, torn between relief at their unity and wariness of further deception. When Bill confides in her about the corporate sabotage, she stands by them, offering help connecting contacts in law enforcement. The three of them form an unlikely alliance, driven by shared interests: Bill's pursuit of justice, Hayley's desire for redemption, Dani's need to protect her children. Their uneasy truce evolves into a pragmatic partnership, one that blurs old animosities in favor of a collective cause. As the investigation crescendos, the saboteur is exposed, a figure who had envied Hayley's position, aimed to ruin her personally and professionally. Confrontation arrives on a rainy afternoon at Bill's corporate headquarters, mirroring the night when Hayley's lie was laid bare. Security cameras catch the saboteur switching test samples. Dani's quick thinking and Bill's evidence ensure the perpetrator's arrest. The ordeal, though harrowing, cements Bill and Hayley's trust in one another. In the aftermath, Hayley receives an official apology from the clinic, her name cleared. But more significant is the restoration of her integrity in Bill's eyes, a resurrection born not of false hope, but of hard-won truth. With the threat neutralized, life slowly returns to a semblance of normalcy. Hayley throws herself into planning a family retreat, one that includes Dani and her daughters, hoping to unify the two branches of the extended family in peace. Bill watches her from across the room, gratitude and admiration shining in his eyes. He realizes that forgiveness is not a surrender to the past, but a building of new foundations on the rubble of deceit. Dani stands beside her daughters, tentative smiles breaking through as the children chase each other through the garden. In that moment, the Hamilton and Dupree families, once pitted against one another by lies and fears, glimpse a future where honesty and collaboration foster a shared hope. Though the scars of betrayal remain etched in memory and whispered warnings, they no longer dictate the contours of their lives. Instead, they serve as reminders of the peril of half-truths and the power of collective resilience. As twilight falls on the Hamilton estate and lanterns glow along the garden path, the families gather to share a simple meal beneath an ancient oak. Laughter weaves through the warm evening air, the twins perched on Hayley's lap while Dani watches them fondly. Bill raises his glass in a silent toast to survival and unity. And amid the gentle hum of contentment, every heart in that circle knows that true reconciliation is neither swift nor easy, but lasting when built on the bedrock of unwavering truth.